Hey everyone, before we begin, I am well aware that this video is way different compared to my usual content. But this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I think this season is a pretty good time to do so. And just a quick heads up, there will be some swearing in this video and moments where I get, to put it kindly, less chill. Okay, some of you might have read the title and went, "Sleep, there's no way that's true. CODM loves the good players." To the average player, that is what it might seem. But by the end of this video, you'll realize that it couldn't be further from the truth, as Call of Duty Mobile, from a ranked perspective, is an absolute cesspool of bullshit and cheese dedicated to coddle and spoon-feed the bad players while actively punishing the good players. In this video, I shall be doing what no other YouTuber has dared to do and throw away any chances of getting a CODM sponsorship, as I'll be breaking down all the factors that lead to this problem, and that is because Call of Duty Mobile sucks for good players. Here's why. But before we get into that, it is important to understand why the devs do any of this.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Other COD titles are paid to play, with the newer titles costing around $70. They also feature microtransactions for skins and battle passes, but the main source of revenue for these titles is the initial purchase. The only non-mobile title that doesn't do this and isn't locked to a single region is Warzone, but that game still actively encourages you to purchase the other titles. CODM is unique in this regard, as it is the only one that is free to download, doesn't actively encourage you to purchase other titles, and doesn't require an expensive device to play on. This makes the barrier of entry much lower, so anyone, and I do mean anyone, can play Call of Duty Mobile. So how does CODM make their money? Well, CODM is reliant on in-game microtransactions. This is mainly in the form of battle passes and cosmetics, some of which can go for insane prices. So instead of the short-term initial purchase, CODM focuses on the smaller purchases over time. This is also the reason why CODM is able to stay up for so long, as it is not reliant on the initial purchase. But this is where the problems start to come in, because this leads to something that we call COD as a whole, including Call of Duty Mobile, is generally considered one of the easier FPS franchises out there, having a low skill floor and moderate skill ceiling. Most people can get into the game no problem, as the mechanics are very simple, but there is some learning curve and practice required if you want to be in the upper echelon of skill. This would have been completely fine if not for the fact that the devs of Call of Duty Mobile have a bad habit of catering towards shitters. See, the CODM player base can be broken down into two main groups. The good players, the ones who have invested time and effort into improving their skills and understanding of the game, such as the top 1%ers, COD players, and most respectable content creators. Then there are the bad players. These include your fresh installs and your teammates that go triple negative. The devs of Call of Duty Mobile found that it is actually more profitable to cater towards the latter demographic rather than the former. The reason for this is very simple. If they do something that pisses off the good players, the most they'll do is bitch on social media for a few hours before going back to playing the game and spending their life savings on mythic draws. Next to no loss for the devs. Now, if they piss off the bad players, they'll just straight up quit the game, which is a massive loss in revenue, as you're looking at what can be tens of thousands of players that could be purchasing cosmetics. So the devs have made it their life's mission to serve everything to the bad players on a silver platter, while not giving a flying f about the good players, resulting in what my buddy Ari from the Stats on Duty team calls gameplay communism. Instead of encouraging the bad players to, get good, they're given a whole Pandora's box of bullshit mechanics and items that allow them to perform on par with the good players. So for the rest of this video, I will be explaining all of these clutch mechanics and how they achieve this effect. The explanations will be pretty surface level, since there's actually a lot more that goes into each of them, so I'll be making separate videos in the future on the ones that need more detail. The most obvious one is the weapon meta. If you've looked at some of the best weapons in recent times, you'll find that they're usually incredibly easy to use and absurdly strong compared to other options. Let's take a look at some of these examples. The User's 9, this is the most commonly used weapon in the game right now, and all of us have died to this weapon at least a couple hundred times by now. This gun has amazing close range time to kill, very consistent hitboxes so bad players aren't punished for aiming low, some of the least recoil in the game, so you don't have to bother with learning recoil control. AR great range, so players don't have to bother with differentiating between SMG and AR ranges, and the potential to 2-tap if both shots hit the head, so you can randomly get insta-killed even if you didn't deserve it. As you can see here, this gun is incredibly easy to use, while being a little too good at everything, quite literally the perfect weapon. This makes most weapons obsolete, and the only ones that can compete with it are obscenely strong themselves. One of these weapons being the Odin. Now this is considered the high-skilled meta weapon, but at the same time not really. This weapon features, hands down, the best lethality profile amongst all assault rifles, being on par with the DMRs, except it is way easy to use since it's fully automatic, so you don't have to worry about having a good trigger finger. Its recoil is moderate but still fairly controllable since it's mostly vertical. So this gun is a good bit harder to use than the User's 9, but it is still way too easy to use considering the insane reward you get, making this gun just as, if not more obnoxious than the User's 9 depending on the user. And then we move on to what I believe to be the most egregious example, the MG42. There is a reason this gun had to be nerfed so many times. At its peak, this gun screamed made for idiots. It had way better handling and hipfire accuracy than the other belt-fed LMGs, so shit players aren't punished for not knowing how to hold angles. It can be built to have insanely fast time to kill for very little downside, no negative leg multipliers, and an absurdly forgiving fire rate so the player isn't punished for their bad aim, extremely low recoil so you can forget about recoil control, and the benefits of an LMG that just make it even more brain dead. There are many more examples I can talk about, but these should be more than enough to give you the big idea. These weapons eliminate the need for good mechanical skills to perform well with them, meaning that the difference between a good player and a shitter using the same gun is negligible. The worst part is that the devs won't give these weapons any harsh nerfs, because when the shitters see that their favorite crutch weapon is not good anymore, they'll just rage quit and stop playing the game, because for the longest time, they were never encouraged to get good. Now how about we take it a step further? An entire weapon category that was built specifically to feed into a player's poor mechanical skill. I know a good number of you will get angry here, but don't even try to defend them in the comments, you'll just end up self-reporting. Shotguns are arguably one of the hardest weapons to balance, as, historically speaking, they were either insanely strong or insanely underpowered. Call of Duty Mobile falls into the former category. Why, you may ask? Well, this is due to two main factors. Shotguns can reliably one-tap up close, meaning that against regular weapons, the shotgun has an extreme advantage in time to kill, as it's quite literally 0 milliseconds. These weapons can end the fight before the enemy even realizes they were in one to begin with. Shotguns are also way less demanding in terms of mechanical skill. Since they are single-fire weapons, you don't have to worry about tracking or controlling recoil. In fact, thanks to the pellet spread, you don't even have to be very precise with them. All you have to do is look at the general direction of the enemy, and 9 times out of 10, you insta-kill them. And some of you might not know this, but shotguns in Call of Duty Mobile have built-in aimbot. Don't believe me? Well, take a look at this. Yeah, you thought you had good aim with your shotgun. Nope, that was the game aiming for you. Now, I understand that shotguns should be strong in close quarters, but this is just too much. You should at least have a chance against a shotgun user, but in the current state that they're in, any encounter against a shotgunner is just incredibly one-sided, as there is no effective counter, and there is a massive disparity in the effort required to take each other out. Some of you might say, oh, it's easy to counter shotgun, just stay out of their range, but that argument doesn't really hold much water when that is the equivalent of saying, just don't encounter them in the first place. Not to mention that there are tons of maps, and 3 whole game modes that force you to play in closer ranges, aka the prime range to get shotgunned. We even have shotguns that can outrange a lot of the SMGs, so good luck trying to stay out of their range. I will admit, there is a bit of a skill ceiling to using shotguns, but the skill floor is also way lower than other weapons, so even the shitters who can't track or aim properly can still use it and do reasonably well, which is frankly undeserved. So this section can be broken down into 2 parts, lethals and tacticals. I'm going to go over the lethals first since they're the less insufferable of the two. Surprisingly, most of them are actually fine. Stuff like Molotovs, C4s, and trip mines are pretty annoying, sure, but at least they aren't hand-holding the shitters. The only real violator here is the contact grenade, because using guns, let's just throw an undodgeable projectile that hardly requires any aim. This is quite literally a free kill, with next to no effort from the user, while the receiver can do nothing about it. There is no way to dodge it because of the generous blast radius. You can't stop it mid-air since trophy systems take donkey's years to deploy, and that indicator does not help you at all. No, that is just to tell you that you're gonna die within the next frame. Now, tacticals on the other hand are a bit more problematic. Stuns, flashes, cryo bombs, and gas grenades. All 4 of them do different things, but achieve the exact same effect. That being taking away the enemy's ability to fight back.
Are you tired of dying in every gunfight because your dog ass can't win against enemies who can actually shoot back? Well, fear not, my friend. Call 1-800-I'm-a right now and order your starter pack of cheesy tacticals. Just throw one of these bad boys and you can take away the enemy's ability to move, see, or aim their damn gun.
Goddamn, that shit hurt my throat. The other 2 tacticals I want to talk about basically defeat the purpose of having good awareness and game sense. The trip sensor is essentially a free flank watch that is not only near impossible to detect due to how well it blends into environments, but also punishes you by slowing you down and informing all of China where you are because listening for footsteps or being mindful of flank routes, am I right? The heartbeat sensor is just as egregious, being able to see enemies behind walls up to ridiculous distances. I'm sure you've seen this sight countless times in Search and Destroy. You got picked off early on for some unfortunate reason, and now you have to spectate your shitty teammates. Oh, what is this? He is staring at his goddamn baby monitor when if he uses If he used his fucking eyes, he could have seen that the enemy was right in front of him. Is this not an example of encouraging bad habits from the player? And then we move on to the perks. I'm going to mainly focus on the ones from the red tier and the blue tier. Let's start with arguably the dumbest perk in the entire game, Martyrdom. Do you know why this perk never came back in any other title since OG Modern Warfare? That is because this perk straight up punishes you for getting a kill, which is fucking stupid. Oh, you killed someone and they're remotely close to you? Get fucked. Got a kill in the hard point and want to push up? Get fucked. In the middle of a gunfight and the enemy just so happened to die in the general vicinity? Get fucked. And it's not just punishing you. Even your teammates that are nearby are at risk just because you managed to get a kill. Talk about a fair and balanced mechanic, am I right, boys? That is not the only dumb perk. Some of you probably know what perk I'm going to talk about. Yep, it's Persistence. The only other title that has this perk is World War II, and that game was fucking dogshit. The concept of this perk is arguably even worse than the last one, as this perk was blatantly added for disability access. Normally, when you die, you are rightfully punished by losing your score streak progress. But if you have Persistence equipped, you are practically guaranteed a high tier streak by the end of the match, no matter how many times you die. Even if the cost was increased, it's not difficult to reach that score streak requirement. Imagine you're in a game of hard points. Your team is about to win, when suddenly, you and your team get gaggle-fucked by 3 big score streaks that the enemy team didn't deserve from how many times you've been killing them. You know, it's kind of funny to think that they moved this perk into the blue tier specifically to ensure that you can't pair it with Hardline. And guess what happens next? They proceed to reduce the score streak penalty, so what was even the point of them doing that? We have 2 more perks that are pretty problematic as well, but they only make sense when we move on to our next section, that being the concept of operator skills was a carryover from Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 as a way to implement an alt system into COD. And guess what? No one liked that system in those games. So the devs brought it into Call of Duty Mobile. The reason operator skills are such a flawed concept is because the idea of having half a minute of God mode from doing f*** all is really stupid. That is not COD, that is goddamn Overwatch. Some of you might spew some bullshit in the comments like, oh, they're needed for pushing into objectives, but you see, we already have something for that. It's called use your fucking gun! It is quite ironic that the gameplay mechanic with the word skill in the name is actually one of the least skillful parts of the game. I'd like to know which dev thought it was a good idea to give operator skills that already have an obscene time to kill advantage fucking damage resistance. I have some very nice things to say to them. For some reference, let's take a look at the equalizer since that is the most commonly used one. This thing already has a time to kill potential of 0 to 64 milliseconds, basically instant. The fastest killing fully automatic weapon, the Odin, kills in 145 milliseconds. Except, that is not the case if you're going against the guy with the equalizer because it has a 25% damage resistance, which is effectively 133 health. So the Odin will instead take 290 milliseconds to kill. The equalizer can beat the fastest killing fully automatic weapon at least 4 times over before it's taken out. And with the colossal ammo pool, you can easily slam the entire enemy team for nearly a whole hardpoint. Oh, are you not getting your God mode often enough? Don't worry my friend, we have 2 perks to help with that. One just straight up allows you to charge faster for free, and the other one allows you to farm operator charge off your teammates, so now you don't even have to do anything to get them. Whew. So yeah, those were some pretty serious problems. It's not like the devs would just add a new mechanic out of nowhere that makes all of these problems even worse tenfold, am I right?
Hello there.
So quite recently, the devs added a new mechanic. Fucking wildcards. For those who don't know, wildcards are an additional means of customizing your loadout outside of the normal loadout restrictions. I think you can see why this can get really broken. Oh, what's that you say? One overpowered gun is not enough for you. Now you can run 2 overpowered guns.
You shouldn't be allowed to buy a fully automatic 12-gauge shotgun with a high-capacity extended magazine.
I agree. That's why I bought 2.
Enemies not dying to your contact grenades or your damn suicide vest because they're running flak jacket. Well, how about a wild card that buffs your explosive damage and gives you an infinite supply of them as long as you can get a kill with them? Need more than 1 guaranteed high tier score streak with persistence? Okay, let's make that 2. Like being able to cycle God mode 2 to 3 times every game? Let's double it and give it to the next person. Get 2 back-to-back operator skills every cycle.
How did it even make it to live servers? How? How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game? I'm so sick of this fucking company.
This game was already enough of a shit show, and there was no reason for wildcards to be added other than doubling down on all of the problems I previously mentioned and making the game even more rewarding for shit-can players. But it's not just the mechanics that make this game so frustrating for good players. It is the entire rank system. CODM has some of the easiest rank progression out of any FPS title, to the point that reaching Legendary is the norm for 90% of the population who actually plays the game. The reason for this is because the system rewards you for winning instead of performing well, meaning that even the bot frag, who has been going 2 to 18 on the winning team, still earns points, while the top performer of the entire match is punished just because he was on the losing team. So even the worst of the worst players can reach 10k XP if he hits the start button enough times. That is while dealing with all of the chaos caused by all of the items I mentioned. It is no wonder that ranked is such a miserable experience and some just opt to straight up avoid ranked entirely. What makes this even more depressing is that the devs actually considered implementing item restrictions into ranked, which will fix most of the issues I mentioned earlier. But then they remembered that the bad players who rely on these mechanics to get by will straight up quit the game, so they shelved that concept entirely. Because we need the money, we need people buying our skins, we need player counts. Oh wait, it's declining.
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live.
But we can't just pin it all on the devs, even though they were the ones who built this sinking ship, as the player base is also part of the problem. That's right, you fuckers contributed to this shitfest too. Do you have any idea why PC cards never face this issue? That is because if they even attempt a fraction of this kind of shit, the community will be all up in arms. They will boycott, they'll make refunds, they'll quit the game, and make videos complaining about it. But for CODM, no. You guys love this shit. You guys gobble it all up like it's candy a day before expiration. You guys continue to abuse the mechanics they add and buy skins. And how about the people who make content on the game? They're supposed to be the voice of the community, right? Nope. They're literally paid to shut the fuck up. Not even the comp players get to say anything either. So the devs see that no one's complaining, the player counts are doing just fine, and they're still making a good amount of money. So they go, no problems here, seems that the players are liking all the cheese that we're adding. Okay, let's add some more. You guys encourage this shit, and now we're dealing with the consequences. The one time you guys united as a community was over a f***ing camo that wasn't even that good. Come in.
Yo, Sleep. We need to wrap up.
Wait, already?
Yeah, the video's getting too long.
Oh, come on, we got so much more to talk about.
Dude, we can save that for another video. And besides, half the video is just you molding in front of a mic.
Oh, fine, I'll wrap up, but it's not because you told me to, okay? Now, I'm not saying that I hate CODM or CODM bad. In fact, I do want this game to do well, and will continue to make content on the game. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge the fact that some of the decisions that the devs make are scummy at worst, and questionable at best. And if no one talks about it, this problem will only continue to get worse, hence why I made this video. If you guys have any ideas on ways the game can be improved, or if there are any additional points that I forgot to mention, feel free to let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. But until then, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye. Shit, man, I need a drink.